But football without fans is not. You play a football match without fans, you've got nothing. It can be the greatest game in the world. If there are no people there to watch, it becomes nothing.
Into Johnson. Johnson. Larson. Oh, he's in! Henrik Larsson! That is sensational! Nakamura! He has done it! Isn't that just typical?
The game is over. The Rebels have won.
A star is born at Celtic!
Champions. That's who we are.
What's happening, guys? Good afternoon. Another episode of the Jungle Gyms podcast. Today is Sunday and we've just witnessed Celtic restore the 9-point lead for beating Ross County in Dingwall 2-0. Not a fluid game, not the most attractive game. We toiled in some stages if you compare the performance today to the standards that Ange's team have set. But the most important thing is we got the win, we got the 3 points, and especially after that international break. Today, welcome to the viewers. Thanks very much for joining us. Get your comments coming in. Let us know what you thought of the game. And we've got Paddy, we've got James. Boys, how you doing? How was the game? You enjoy it?
I don't know if you could use the words enjoy it about that game, but listen, a win's a win. 3 points, I'll always take that. But I just pretty much the same as the guys in the comments. John Coyle saying that was the poorest we've been all season. Can't remember us being so slack in possession. Plunge up the screen now. Frustrating and nervous performance. Harsh penalty. Aye. Can I disagree?
Harsh penalty. We will get to that. James, liking the top. Would you prefer that top or the new fourth one? What's your? I know that you've got both.
I don't know. I'd probably go this one, to be honest. I actually don't mind this one.
It's a bit different, but I do like it. So, a Jota penalty, by the way, I was nervous when he was taking that, if you remember back to his last penalty. And, of course, Bernabei, an unusual hero, stepping up in the 95th minute to score 2-0 to kind of settle it, put the nerves to bed. But, yeah, during the course of the game, we weren't at our best. And, again, it's not being critical. It's just, I'm sure that Ange would rebuff any kind of reproach from reporters if they were to say that. But it's just... if you compare it to the standards that we set, it wasn't at our best. Paddy, the lineup itself, why don't we go back to the start? So, the usual back four, Johnson, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Starfelt and Taylor. Now, of course, we knew we had a couple of injuries. So, we've got Moy, who's out, Rio Hatate, who's out, 2 very influential players. Now, Iwata comes in and Callum McGregor gets pushed up. You've also got O'Reilly, who comes in as well. And then up front, you've got Kyogo, of course, Jota and Maida. What was your thoughts on the lineup, and especially Iwata? Iwata's not a like-for-like replacement like Callum McGregor. He doesn't possess the same characteristics and attributes that he has. So what were you expecting from Iwata? And again, your overall thoughts on the lineup today?
I was pleasantly surprised to see Iwata's name in the starting lineup. And obviously when the game kicked off and you could see the way the team was set up, that Calmac was being pushed forward. I was quite happy to see that because that was something I was wanting to see. Somebody that was able to step in and allow Callum to flourish forward. But I think if you analyse through the whole game, I don't think Iwata was particularly bad as such, but wasn't particularly great. And I didn't like the balance of the team, especially the midfield. It just seemed to have a lack of cohesion as to what we usually see. Iwata didn't really make things tick. McGregor was very quiet, which I think he has been quite recently, to be perfectly honest with you. And O'Reilly, I wasn't a fan of his today. I don't think he's been at the races at all this season, regardless of stats and numbers and this and that. If you look at his performances through open eyes, they've not been as good as last season. But again, mate, other than the result, the fact that plodded away and plugged away and we managed to make it 2. There's really a lot of positives to say there, so.
Yeah, we can't get. It's not a day where we can get carried away with positives. Of course, we got the victory, the 3 points, and we got Iwata some game time. A wee bit disappointing to see Taylor go off with an injury. We're wondering how bad that might be if he's going to miss out on the game next weekend. James, though, interesting point that Paddy talks about. What did you think of the chemistry in the midfield? Did Iwata can only do what he can do, you know what I mean? He's not had much exposure yet to the first team. How do you think that he acquitted himself and the midfield as a whole? Do you think we lost out, or do you think we gained something in different areas?
Nah, I think Paddy's pretty spot on in what he says there. It was by no means the worst player in the park, but it was by no means the best. It was just like a safe performance. I think that the midfield that just for whatever reason didn't work today. I think Matt O'Reilly, he looked as if he won a competition to play today. I think that's by far and away his worst performance of the season. Passing the ball at the park, passing the ball to Ross County, just constantly getting it away. But I suppose at the same time, I mean, Hitate's probably many people's player of the year. So if you're taking him out, it's always going to be a big miss. And then obviously Aaron Moy's been in good form the last few months now. So it's always going to be a big miss, but I think he said they should both be fit for next week. But then, so obviously that'll kind of sort the midfield out. But then the worry going into next week now is getting Greg Taylor back.
Mm-hmm. My expectation for Iwata today was just to keep it simple. He's not got the same sophistication as what Callum McGregor does. And whenever Iwata, one of the main parts of his game is to kind of regain possession, you know. He's got that thing, but he's able to win back possession without really going in for like a slide tackle, that sort of thing. He's able just to kind of nudge people off the ball. At least that's what I got from his YouTube clips anyway. I've seen him a few times already in the hoops, him doing that sort of thing. But the main thing is to get the ball and just to spray out the passes, keep it simple. I thought, by the way, passing out for the back, I thought Starfelt, I don't criticise Starfelt too much, okay? If you listen to me week in, week out, I'm fairly balanced. But today, Starfelt had 2 clangers of passes, which I just find it's fun to actually bring up. It was in the first half, one where the Ross County forward was kind of played in, but Starfelt, with his recovering pace, he was always going to get there first. So he managed to get the ball, and he was just going to play it back to Hart. But Hart obviously was rushing out at this point. When I say obviously, it was plain for all to see. Hart was running towards Starfelt to kind of snuff out any danger. Now, you thought at that point, well, the goalkeeper's too close to you, so you're going to have to just hit it out for a revert the other way and hit it out for a shy. But he passes it back with a good bit of force towards Hart, and I think it actually hits off his chest. Hart was already kind of like diving down. Total lack of communication. Hart was diving down, and I think it was lucky that it hit off his chest, because maybe if it hit off his hand, then maybe the referee could have had a different perspective on it and given away, who knows. And there was another point in the second half where Starfelt tried to pass to Cameron Carter-Vickers. It was an easy one, and he fucking lobbed him, and possession went to Ross County. Quite funny. I just bring it up because it was amusing, that's all. I felt Johnson, though, had a particularly good game. Cameron Carter-Vickers was as steady Eddie as always, but Johnson is getting better and better and better. I'm liking what I'm seeing of him, and he was one of the defenders who stood out for me, James.
I definitely am. I full agreement with that. The first half, Greg Taylor obviously had had the shot at towards the end, but Alistair Johnson, there was one, he kind of went on a kind of rampage and run up the line, and the guys tried to slide in and clean him out, and he skipped by him, and then he's taken it to the byline and just bodied the guy out the way, and he's got the cross in. I think in the first half, he was probably the only standout. As I say, Greg Taylor hitting the post maybe puts him in that conversation, but in terms of overall performance, head and shoulders the best in the first half anyway, at least, was Alistair Johnson.
Aye, and good point here for Red Scotland. International break may be a factor too, but we've won at a difficult venue. And touching on Ross County as well, they were actually second from the bottom, just 2 points off the bottom club in the league, and they actually had to shuffle the pack. One of their defenders was injured, so in came a 16-year-old defender, Dylan Smith, and he started for County in the middle of a back three. Whenever you see that on paper, you think easy pickings, but it wasn't quite. You know, we did toil. Paddy, Jota. Now, I think we'd probably all be in agreement that it wasn't Jota's best performance today. But what I've got to say is the guy is tenacious. He's one of he's got such an irrepressible attitude. Even if you're watching him for the first half of a game and you're like, look, you do not have the beating of this fullback. It's not working for you. His head never ever goes down. Keeps trying and trying, and he's going to cop a lot of flack for the opposing fans because he's just one of the players who attracts that attention. Never mind the fact that he invites it with a fucking mullet. But he just keeps playing and playing and playing, and he's got one of the best attitudes in the team. I thought, although his quality wasn't great today, he was still an important figure. What was your thoughts on his performance?
Listen, you could see he was trying the whole game. Sometimes with wingers, you need to be patient with him. He's completely different for Maeda, who just runs into space, tries to stretch the game, tries to stretch defenders. But Jota is one of the guys that can actually make things happen on the ball. There was a few instances where he did very, very well, but I think with the kind of overall approach today with the team, it was very, very flat. I don't know, mate. I'm really actually struggling to bring the positives to this conversation. I know that's maybe sounding quite spoiled and kind of crab it, considering as Red Scotland mentioned earlier, we've won at a very difficult ground. You can see it's a tight, compact pitch. Ross County is always going to play deep. They're going to play with big defenders. They're going to play compact in the centre. So it's going to be harder for us to create chances. But I think, as you said earlier, they started off with 3 at the back, so you'd be expecting your wingers to go and exploit how compact they're playing. They should have had more space than what they did. But listen, if you're Jota and you're going to persist and you're going to try the full game, then you can't be faulted for that. But there does need to be a bit more impotence about the game and the way that we approach these games. Like Kyogo up front against 3 defenders, you always know that's going to be difficult. You always know that there's going to be hard for him to get chances and get sniffs at the game. But we still do try, so that's the positives. But listen, it was one of the rotten weekends. Just back for international break, you probably are going to expect a bit of ring rust. So that's what it is. 3 points.
By the way, look, you don't always have to be positive on a podcast. I know that you can get flack for some of the viewers if you're not always singing people's praises. But if we're all the same, it's just going to be an echo chamber. You need a difference of opinion. Now, James, pretend you're Ange. I want to ask you about your thoughts about starting Maeda. Now, in my opinion, whenever you're playing against a team like County away, they're going to be defending very, very deep. I would say that Haksabanovic has got the technical attributes where he would thrive on that type of style. It's basically a training exercise of unpicking a lock. And Haksabanovic is good at that sort of thing. Maeda, on the other hand, he doesn't have a lot of area to run into in the back of it, behind the defence. So I'm thinking Haksabanovic is the better player for that sort of thing. What do you think is Ange Postecoglou's thinking by starting Maeda for that?
I don't know, and it's something I'm sure. Obviously, we've spoken about it on here as well. In my opinion, obviously Maeda is a good player, and obviously he's improved as we've spoken about since Harry Kewell came in. But still, there is still games where you just know it's not going to be his. It's not going to be his game. It's not going to be his style. Obviously, as you're kind of alluding to, like the day that a tight park, horrible park in terms of conditions. And you just know it's got to be 10 men behind the ball and he isn't going to have that space to run into. I suppose you could make a case for it being kind of similar with Jota as well, although he's got a wee bit more kind of trickery to beat a man. So going into it, you just feel as if you knew, and I'm sure we discussed it this morning in the group chat, you know that he's not going to be as effective. I mean, I'm not saying he can still obviously nip in at the back post and get a goal as he's done in the past, definitely. But in terms of his overall game, it just kind of nullifies him. It just feels as if he gets the ball and then he's having to get back because there isn't the space to run into. So, as you're saying, Haksabanovic, and I think it showed when he came on. I know, obviously, it's late in the game, tired defences and all that, but similar with O as well and Kyogo. As soon as they took him on, I think they probably done more in 20 minutes than what Kyogo and Maeda done in 70.
Aye, whenever he came on, he looked eager as fuck. I know he might be a bit kind of rough around the edges, but like you saw him in the international break, that goal that get ruled offside. You know, the guy does have a bit of quality, and the more opportunities he's got to find his feet in the hoops, I think he looks to be an exciting player. He's definitely not in the Giakoumakis mold. He's just a wee bit different to that, and it's going to be exciting to see how that unfolds. Paddy, in terms of the first half leading up to the goal, I don't think anyone could have dropped the head flip from a fan's point of view. You were just waiting for that opportunity, but we were sluggish. We had a Cameron Carter-Vickers header from a set piece. It was knocked back from Johnson, headed back, and Cameron Carter-Vickers headed it over the bar. Looked as if it was kind of too high for him. And then Jota skies it right over the bar after a bit of good work between him and Johnson. It would have been easier to actually hit the target. Taylor had a right-footed scorcher of a drive, and it hit off like right-footed as well. You know what I mean? He scored a couple of long rangers, I think, for Celtic, but that was with his left. But he had the power in his right. It rattled off the post. And then, of course, right at the end, there was a few minutes of stoppage time added on, and we've got the penalty incident. Talk me through it. What was your thoughts?
Sorry, can I just nip in there? Just a wee message through. Nothing to do with us. Brendan Rodgers just been sacked with Leicester, so that'll cheer your Sunday up a wee bit, get it right round them.
No, really, because that'll be big Ange getting fucking linked to them and all.
Oh, aye, that's true.
Well, Brendan Rodgers, I mean, I don't like the way he left, but I don't really get any pleasure in hearing he's been sacked. But listen, he'll be getting a big contract anyway, so. I didn't actually see the penalty in the live because I'd went for a jobby. I actually thought, mate, having watched the first half, that I would have plenty of time to nip out with 5 minutes left to go, and there would be nothing. And I left my phone in the man cave, nipped into the house, sitting there, came back in. And my stream was a wee bit behind, and just came in. I've seen all the fucking WhatsApp texts and whatnot. So the referee literally just went to the screen on my stream. But
can I just point out to the viewers that Paddy's bowel movements are actually a good luck charm for Celtic and for the podcast. So many times Paddy has went for his famous shite, and we have scored a goal. So yeah, you've seen it back, Paddy. You've seen it back after washing your hands, of course. So what was your thoughts?
Hygiene first, mate. Hygiene first. No, as you say, mate, the lucky shite strikes again. I tell you what, I'm going to be a bit less than favourable here. I don't think it was a penalty. I think if that's given against you, you're absolutely fuming. It's very, 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 very tight. If you look at it in slow motion, the ball comes in. Vickers goes up for the head. Vickers just slightly gets a touch on the ball as he's trying to head it. It's then hit the guy's hand, right? As I say, living in the land of the reason, you look at it, you say, that's not a penalty. But in the same respect, if you think of the precedent that's been set this season with the amount of penalties he's been given, and they're giving penalties for arms being in unnatural positions, then by the letter of their law, it's a penalty. But again, I don't agree particularly with the way that they're handling some of these penalties, excuse the pun. But very, very, I don't want to say fortunate, because as I say, that's going by their rules. So going by their rules, it's a penalty that should have been given. But yes, very, very light penalty, shall we say.
James, I think Paddy sums up really well. On one hand, you're angry because this is what it's came to. Well, this is a standard, so they have to be consistent. And you know, in yesteryear, you would never say that that's a penalty, but you know, we've been penalised by shocking calls, whether it's deliberate or not. You know, ball to hand, it doesn't matter nowadays. It's a penalty. So. Unless I'm mistaken, I would imagine you're going to echo the opinion of Paddy in that one.
Aye, 100%, but John makes a good point there. Sky obviously thought that was what the penalty or what the check was for, and that's what they started showing you. And then when you compare the two of them, the kind of wrestling with Kyogo, that is maybe a penalty than what we got the penalty for. And as much as it pains me to say it, I'm not going to give him any credit, but as fucking Monster Man said at half time, the one against St Johnstone before the international break, where the guy fucking jumps up and basically spikes the board and they don't get a penalty. And that's, I mean, we'll say it when it goes for us, we'll say it when, obviously we've said it when it goes against us. It's just the consistency thing. I think the only thing you can say with VR is that it's consistently inconsistent. It's just, it needs to be totally kind of rejigged and revamped for next year, because it is utterly pointless at being in use the way it is now.
It's Bhoys, it really is. But we've got a goal at half time though. Paddy, how important was it to actually get that goal for half time? Or do you think, judging by how we've been this season, you've still got no fears, even if you're going in goalless at 75 minutes, 80 minutes, you know we're always going to get a chance, we're always going to get a goal? I don't know, sometimes in these away grounds, I know that some people are cavalier enough to say, no, it's okay, we're going to score, we're going to score. Just me, from my experience as a football fan, I want to get a goal as early as possible, and then that second goal, and then that third goal. Some people might be arrogant enough to say, nah, we don't need it, it'll come. But at half-time, 1-0 to the good, whether you think it was a penalty or not. And thankfully, Jota converts it quite emphatically down the middle. Happy days, though, happy days. So were you thinking at that point we push on into the second half and get more goals?
I was extremely delighted for Jota to put that away. It was a great finish, as you say. I think, given Ange's track record and the team's track record of how we've continued to play on to the very last minute and beyond since he's come in, you know, that gives you that bit of confidence, and it makes you have a bit more patience in these games, right? But just because of the day and the way the performance was going, Gav, I was very, very. At some points, I was actually watching the game through my fingers. It was that bad. But I was hoping more than kind of thinking that we were going to score again after Jota did. But again, as you say, great to get a goal just before half time. So surely that made Ange's team talk just that wee bit easier. And I did think the second half, you know, we kind of approached the game a bit more positive. We tried to create things, and ultimately led to another goal late on.
One thing that kind of makes me nervous, and I don't know if I'm just like kind of glass half empty, but see, whenever we've got a lot of players on the park at one particular time who weren't part of the title winning team last season, it makes me a wee bit nervous in terms of their mentality. It reminds me, like, this might be a daft analogy, but you know when you watch those like war movies, and you've got like the new like Platoon or whatever, like the Vietnam movies, and you've got the new soldiers who are just like, they've done their training, and then like they join up with their platoon for the first time, but they're considered green because they've never been in amongst it, you know what I mean? And then you've got the other people in their platoon who have got that 1,000-yard stare. I want people in the team who've got the 1,000-yard stare, you know what I mean? The people who've got the experience where you're just calm to be in the trenches with those guys. And there's no kind of evidence to kind of back up why I'm nervous about this, because Ange's team delivers week in, week out. But whenever we've got too many players in the team at one given time who are reasonably new to the team, let people like Iwata, O'Reilly come back in from the cold, Bernabei coming in, you know, replacing Taylor, I just get a wee bit nervous sometimes. But that's just me. I'm sure some people are kind of glass half full. Anyway, I'll stop rambling pish. By the way, a good movie, Platoon. James, have you seen it?
I have not, mate, no.
Yes, I watch it. Paddy is doing the famous impression of Willem Dafoe just as he's killed by a couple of bazookas and AK-47s by the Viet Cong at that point. A brilliant scene. Anyway, going into the second half, we had a few more chances. Jota had a great chance. He was played through by Kyogo, but then the keeper came out. He took a touch to take it past him, but the angle at that point was shit. Tried to play it in, and the attack fizzled out. Starfelt, right after that, he had the bomb scare, which I alluded to earlier on. He tried to pass it to Cameron Carter-Vickers, and he created havoc. We always need a bit of entertainment, and he provided it. Now, Kyogo, the shocking miss from Kyogo. See if you remember that. He put it past the post after Maida sprinted down the left flank. That was one of the better moments of Maida in the game. Maida got past his marker, sprinted down the left flank, cut it back for Kyogo. Now, this is what I found inexplicable, why hence the miss. Kyogo actually steadied himself. He took a great touch. He's got the defender who's off balance, the keeper who's already making a move to dive, and he tries to aim for the post and he puts it past the post. James, at that point, what were you thinking? Were you being a wee bit critical? Was there some colourful language emitted at your television station?
Aye, absolutely. I mean, you can't know be. It was like a flashback to earlier in the season. I thought we were playing Ross County in the Champions League and we were missing these sitters. But I mean, you can't do anything there in that scenario apart from score. I mean, he's even get, as you say, Jota beside him. He can pass it on to him for an even easier tapping. But I mean, you can't blame him for shooting, obviously, but he has to score there.
He does. Paddy, at that point, is that kind of enough justification to take off Kyogo and bring on O? Because he never really made his main subs until the 75th minute. I know that Taylor got injured and Bernabei came on for him, but Ange normally makes his changes at roughly the hour mark, but it was only in the 74th minute he brought off Maida, O'Reilly and Kyogo, who all didn't really do that well, and he brought on Haksabanovic, Turnbull and O. What do you think of the substitutes impacts, Haksabanovic, Turnbull and O?
Well, before I mentioned them, just when you were talking about kind of the reaction that Kyogo's missed, I think actually I was like the guy out of platoon like that. Oh no, why? No, it was a shocking miss, I must say. Kyogo was a top goal scorer for us, as we know. But there is that wee kind of clinical edge missing for his game at times. And that was kind of one of the scenarios that shows that. But when the substitutions come on, more than happy to see them. As we were talking about earlier on, we all see Maeda's qualities. We know what he's good at. We know what he's not good at. If you come to Ross County, as I said earlier on, tight, compact pitch, you need guys to be on the ball to create something. Guys like Maeda and Abada, for me, flourish on a big pitch where it's wide open space and they can get in behind defenders. The game's opened that much. You know, they've got room to move. They've got room to kind of bamboozle the guys with their movement. But when you're up against a Ross County team who's compact, they're sitting back, they're sitting tight, you're not getting space to run behind them because they're in front of you at all times. So you need guys like Jota to be creating something on the ball. Haksabanovic is one of these guys. He's not really come in and had a constant kind of impact in the game, but that's clearly been through kind of injuries and stuff like that. But when you see him on the ball, he's another one of these guys that can be like Jota. He can create things. He's good with the ball in front of him, no running behind the ball, as is what Maeda and Abada is. So anytime we come to a pitch like this, just Ross County, obviously, we're talking about them today. When you see Maeda starting, you're like, all right, there might not be much created, but he'll do something. And he did manage to do that for the Kyogo's miss, to his credit. But I was more than happy to see Haksabanovic coming on. Who else came on? Turnbull and
Turnbull. The anonymous Turnbull.
Aye, he is. I'm not a fan of Turnbull's, to be perfectly honest with you. Said it before, say it again. More than happy to put it out there. I think he's an imposter. He's got the heart of a peanut. Doesn't do it when the chips are down. And I thought O'Reilly was pretty much the same the day, so replacing Turnbull for O'Reilly was kind of like for like. Certainly I was more than happy to see coming on because we needed somebody there with a bit of physical presence, a bit of kind of directivity, some other kind of whatever kind of word that is. But he did that. He ruffled the defenders. He one great turn later on when the ball came straight down up the middle of the park, and he kind of turned the defender. Listen, see when you've got guys like Kyogo and O'Reilly that on the much into the game, you need to change it up. You need to bring on fresh legs. You need to give a fresh perspective. The only one I was really gutted to see the day was Bernabei coming on, and that was only for the sake of that Taylor was injured. Taylor's injury was I think it was an impact injury. I think he kind of had a wee bit of a clash with the guys down at the fullback area. So thankfully, most of the times you can shrug them off after a day or two in training, and it's not like a muscular, it's not a pull thing or anything like that. So that's that'll be the positives of that. But as it showed, it was kind of it was a yin and yang moment when Bernabei came on, because he's obviously come on when we didn't want him to come on, but he's turned out to be the saviour of the day, because he's come on and scored an absolutely brilliant goal. Something that Celtic really need to do a lot more, and that's take shots for long range, test the goalkeeper. And he done it. A great goal. Put it to bed.
See, for the actual goal, James, I thought the attack had kind of fizzled out by the time that the ball worked its way to Bernabei, because it was kind of cut back from the right flank. Might have been Jota, might have been Johnson, cut back. Haksabanovic did a brilliant dummy, let it run through his legs, and it kind of ran on. And it was just inviting there for Iwata to kind of run onto it and scalp it. But Iwata wasn't in sync whatsoever. Probably still has his kind of like defensive mindset on, and he wasn't making a run for it. And it just looked kind of ridiculous, kind of haphazard. By the time it got to Johnson, I thought it fizzled out, but he just took a touch to steady himself, and he smacked into the back of the net and ran to the Celtic fans. And of course, cue the cries of Argentina, Argentina. Great goal for Bernabei. Probably needed it for his confidence. I think it's been a kind of... I don't think we've had enough opportunities to really make up our mind yet. Some people might have already written him off yet. Where do you stand on Bernabei? Do you think there's still some potential?
I don't know. It's a difficult one. I'm not going to lie just because he scored today and say I think he's been excellent, because it's a million miles for the truth. But I think even the day, he still showed it. Going forward, obviously he gets his goal, but going forward, it is effective. But it's defensively for me, he's a bit all over the place. His positioning is, don't get me wrong, I know our fullbacks don't kind of stick to the fullback position. They're kind of playing everywhere. But even at that, like, it feels as if defensively he's never where he should be. And I think that actually showed today as well, obviously, before his goal. I'm not writing him off just yet, but he doesn't do it for... He's not done it for me just yet, but I'm willing to give him time. But what I will say, though, is if it is going to be touch and go with Taylor, as you said earlier, getting that goal for his confidence, and even just after things like see the celebrations at the end, letting him kind of lead it. I like that as well. That was a nice touch. Don't get me wrong, it does my tits in that Kyogo does it every week. So it was a nice touch to let him do it. And obviously, as I say, the law just added to his confidence. You could see at the end he was buzzing. So if he's going to be in for the start next week, then obviously he's in a good place for it.
Mm-hmm. It is a very awkward dance to do. The mandatory awkward dance at the end of all away games. And I should know about awkward dances because I try to avoid the dance floor as much as possible on nights out. By the way, there were several incidents I noticed of... I'm going to try and pronounce the guy's name, Iacoviti. I don't even know if is that an Italian name, Iacoviti. Several incidents of him and Kyogo tussling together, kind of off the ball, and it always ended with Kyogo on his arse. Bit of a mismatch, him and any central defender. And then that theme continued even when Kyogo went off. Found himself tussling with Iacoviti. I don't know if that was a tactic of Malcolm Mackay that he employed quite well, because Iacoviti didn't really get penalised with any of those kind of off-the-ball tussles. It was like he was anticipating that Kyogo's going to go on to the end of an attack, and he was just snuffing it out before it came to anything. It was kind of pissing me off, but it was just something that started at the start of the game and continued right up until the end. He switched from Kyogo onto O. What was your thoughts on that? Did you notice it?
There was one. I think it was quite kind of close to the just before Kyogo went off. He's running through, and we're on the break. I think we're breaking down the left hand side, and he's running into the box, and Kyogo's just behind him, and he just stops in his tracks and sticks his elbow out behind him, and Kyogo runs into it, and I think the two of them end up getting down. Andy Walker on commentaries, he's just standing his ground. So that fucking storming your elbows, aye. But then, obviously, I mean, you see the size difference for Kyogo to pretty much any centre-half. I mean, in these scenarios, I mean, you're always going to back your centre-half. But then O comes on and gets the better of him. And just on just going on to that there, I don't know if it is a wee bit of a kind of knee-jerk reaction for me, but I think I'd start O next week. I think I'd give O the nod ahead of Kyogo. I don't know if you ask me on Tuesday again when we're on, I'd maybe have changed my mind, but I think I'd go with O off the back of that performance today. Okay,
tell us why then. Tell us why. What type of game plan would O thrive in? Bearing in mind that Kyogo got the 2 goals in the last.
Hampden. I know. As I say, come Tuesday, I might have changed my mind, but just off the back of that today, I feel as if O is getting better every game he's coming on, and the day's probably, I know he didn't score, but I think it's probably the best he's played in terms of putting his hair about, running about, making chances, getting shots away and things like that. And I don't know, the 3-0 game last February, I think, the game where Giacomakis done everything bar score, I think he could put in that kind of type of performance. I know Kyogo scored the goal, and it's a fucking stupid thing to say, I know, but he's always quiet in the games and then pops up with a goal, so shut up, James. But I'd probably, just based off the way I think the game will go, I think we'll need a wee bit more physicality than we normally would, because it is a must-win for them. It's not a must-win for us. We can take a draw. So I think they'll be kicking everything that moves, and I think O would be made up to the task in Kyogo.
Look, that's a really good opinion. Paddy, starting your prized striker on the bench against the Rangers next weekend. Controversial. What's your thoughts on it?
Mate, see, before I answer that, I'm going to actually bring McGinty in to give us what he thought about today. That was rubbish.
Is that Mr. Men?
Aye, mate.
Mr. Men shocks.
Aye, I've got Clay's in here in the corner, obviously, and I actually forgot it was in the corner. That looks like McGinty. No, I get where you're coming from, Jamesy, but I don't necessarily subscribe to that, and the only reason is because it's going to be a different game next week, Celtic Park. Again, you look at the differences between the stadium, the pitch. Today, it's very tight. There's no much room for movement. Celtic Park's going to be different. There's going to be zero of the troglodytes there. It's going to be all Celtic. The atmosphere is going to be electric, thunderous, whatever you fucking superlative you want to fling at it. And I think guys like Kyogo are going to thrive on that next week. So no, I would continue with Kyogo, and I would hope to see O coming on with some decent minutes to go next week and try and put himself in about it. But no, he's definitely he's good. Oh, he's good. He's performing well. His attitude's there. It's good to see that bit of physicality for a player as well. So he's definitely he's endearing himself to the support, I would say.
James, I know where you're coming from, because like there was one game against the Rangers at Parkhead where Kyogo started, but after about 3 minutes, he got done by by Lundstrom. He came off. Giacomakis came on, and Giacomakis was great for that game. You know, I think that might have been the one you were talking about, perhaps, although he never actually scored. Sometimes I get the fear whenever we don't have a physical presence up front, is an outball against that team. For you, Deef, no zombies in paradise. Last time that happened, it was the best derby atmosphere in my lifetime. The 3-0 game was certainly amazing. That kind of, it was an evening kick-off, wasn't it?
Aye. Was that not the game that Giacomakis started? Mind, it was absolutely fantastic. He probably should have scored. He missed a good few chances. I always mind the one.
Was that not the 4-0 game?
I'm absolutely positive it was a 3-0, because I'm sure it was a night-time game. Always remember there was one, it was a header. The ball comes out the sky and he runs onto it and headers it. I can't mind if he put it wide or if the keeper saves it, but he should have scored it. But he done everything bar score that night. He was bodying them with other
You know what? I think you're right. In fact, you know, I'm fairly certain it was the 3-0 game, because thinking back, I can remember where I was sitting and stuff like that, and I'm sure it was, because we'd been doing
basically we'd all kind of squeezed in at my dad's, but it was definitely that game. It was a 3-0 game.
Fair dues. Aye. Who do you think would be the bigger miss next week, Hatate or Taylor?
I'd based off the replacement, and it's no saying that Taylor's probably the better player, but I think it'd have to be Taylor. I'd have more confidence in Awata, Moy, McGregor, whoever it would be, even O'Reilly after the day's performance than I would in Bernabei.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes you uneasy. Do you think that's the kind of biggest drop-off in standards between...
Is that a 3-0 game, aye?
3-0, you're right, Jack Marcus.
Yeah. I wonder if that's the kind of biggest drop-off in terms of main player and or understudy. You know, obviously with like Alistair Johnson at right back, you've got Ralston, who we've seen him perform at a high level. Whereas with Bernabei, yeah, he's still a bit of an unknown quantity. I think maybe some people still get quite uneasy at him starting. Certainly one of the bigger kind of powder keg games that he started in was Hearts away. Whenever we won, I think it was 4-3. That was the first time that VAR had been introduced for a domestic game. And Bernabei certainly struggled in that one. He came off, Taylor came on, and Taylor ended up scoring. I think it might have been the winner. So I can see maybe left back would be the biggest concern if Taylor doesn't start compared to perhaps Hatate dropping out and Moy coming in. If any of us good folk on here like to use public transport like a bus, I suggest you avoid one way. Be going to Atlanta. Right. Here, by the way, one opposition player today that kind of caught the eye for me, it was number 14, Victor Latoure. I thought he looked a decent player. At one point, he took the absolute piss out of Alistair Johnson with a lovely nutmeg. I don't know if he's like a midfielder or like a wide forward, but a wee skinny guy as well. But he was doing a fair bit of damage for that team anyway. I thought he looked decent. I wonder where his future will lead to, if it would go to one of the Glasgow clubs or elsewhere. But just one player that caught my eye. Normally, whenever we play against opposition teams, I'm so fixated on us and how we're doing that I don't notice that little bit of quality that the opposition might have. But anyway. So any other kind of comment?
See the one you were talking about earlier. The one you were talking about earlier on with Jakiviti.
Yes.
Aye, listen. See if you're a kind of lower class team like Ross County. I know that's no kind of disrespect to them, but that's what they are. Their players will really struggle to put up with guys like Kyle Go and players like that for movement. So they can only really do one or two things. And generally, because they're so pish compared to us, they can really only kick you off the ball, and that's probably the way that Malky Mackay set them up. Do you know what I mean? So I know that was kind of something that you had a bit of being your bun about, but you can't really do much else, can they? You know what I mean? The defenders.
Yeah, the dark arts. I know that it winds some people up, the dark arts, but yeah, if I was, you know, like we saw with Gordon Marshall, David Marshall the other week. You know, time wasting like fuck, you know, like a former Celtic player, and you're hoping like, David, don't do that to us, you know what I mean? But the dark arts, that's what you're going to do if you're up against Celtic, you're up against Sevco. It's natural, you know what I mean? It's like, I think about it like in boxing, if you're fighting against like your opponent who's like bigger, stronger, more technically proficient than what you are, you're going to do all the wee kind of nasty things to rile them up to and do what you can to get away with it, you know, try and push the envelope as much as possible. That's what you're going to do, you know what I mean?
I know if I was a defender for Ross County, right, and I was up against a wee 5'7" guy, I'd be putting fuck out my jaw. So
aye. So, James, any final thoughts on today's game before we kind of lead on briefly to the preview of the Celtic and Sevco?
No, really. I think that is the definition of a win's a win. 3 points and up the road. That'll do me.
Down the road, James. Down the road.
Oh, sorry, aye. We've not got an Orbie tonight, no.
That's 30 games. 30 games down with a goal difference of 74 compared to 47 of the Rangers, and we've got 85 points compared to their 76. So the next few games, as long as we pick up the points, that'll be it. That'll be it. The league will be, without a doubt, ours. Paddy, where will you be for the Celtic and the Rangers game? Will you be in the house? Will you be out?
I don't know. I think I'll be watching that one in the house, mate. But the gym in the morning and then home for a nice quiet evening of reflection and enjoyment because we're going to spank them, absolutely spank them. Again, it's just all this kind of bravado shite leading up to next week. So obviously they played yesterday. They cut the lead to 6 points because we were playing the day. But it's just everything that comes for that area and all the media kind of run about them. Do you know what I mean? It's like made like this big thing, you know, that fucking Alan McGregor had made 500 appearances even though he left the old club, you know, walked away. Now he's back. He's did this, did that. The guy's fucking 49-year-old or something. You know what I mean? They actually think that because they played before us and they won, that was going to put us off our momentum, that they could say whatever they wanted to do this and do that. It's not happening because we're in the driving seat, right? We're the ones fucking leading this Chelsea. We're the ones that's got the sat nav on. No fucking them. Next week when they come to our pitch, they'll have none of them there, and that's because of them, right? So there can be no fucking he's only won because there was no Rangers fans in the crowd. That's fucking their fault. Not necessarily as supporters, but the club. That's their problem. That's their issue. Fuck them. When they come to Celtic Park next week, they are going to be blown away. Blown away. Much the very same as it was at the 3-0 game when they had none of them there. They were blown away. And that will happen again. Fucking Goldson won't have a chance. He won't know where to look because he won't know where Kyogo is. Fucking Cantwell will be lying on his arse because somebody's going to smash him. Hopefully it's Johnson. And I'm fucking hoping that Big Vickers is just going to go through that Morelos cunt. But other than that, again, I'm sitting here, no with smugness, no with overconfidence. I'm sitting here with total confidence that next week comes about, that'll be it. And after we beat them next week, then I'll say, aye, the league's ours. And it'll be a case of when, not if.
That's it. James, there's been a lot of bizarre comments coming from their camp in the media, such as the league might be over, but as long as Beale is at the helm this season, they'll win the remainder of the league, and the gap is not as big as what it seems. 9 points is still 9 points. It would be quite unthinkable with a full capacity at Parkhead that we would drop points. It'd be actually be very, very disappointing if we did. But at the same time, it'd be great once we get the 3 points to kind of shut them up, to put them in their place, and to hear what next comes from their camp in terms of the narrative that they try to spin. So are you going in completely confident? What's your expectations? I think it'll be a nervy game. I think it'll be a high-scoring game.
I don't know, mate. I'll go through the motions all week. Now we'll win 5-0 and then we'll get in bet 5-0 and then we'll take a draw, and it's always the same. I think we're the better team. I don't think that's up for debate. And as you say, full Parkhead, no away support. We should do them, but in the back of my mind, I've just got that. Just don't get bet. Take a draw. You take a draw, it's finished. Even if you need to beat us twice, it's as must win can be for them. Means they're going to have to come out, go for it. Obviously, a bit more. A draw doesn't suit them. That opens up the space for us. So, we should be beating them. But then, again, as I say, take a draw. Draw finishes it as well for me.
I heard an interesting opinion on Twitter. It came from John Hughes' son, and he said, say, you know, the final game that we've got to play them at Ibrox, say obviously we win all our games up until then, and Celtic vetoed the game out of a protest that they can't, or that they weren't able to kind of guarantee the fans' safety. Do you think that would be I think Ange probably wouldn't appreciate that kind of gesture from the Celtic board if we did do that. Do you think that would be a meaningless gesture as well, James, or do you think that could actually cause an impact? Because Sky would fucking hate that. So if Celtic vetoed the game, The question was if Celtic vetoed going to Ibrox to play the game, and obviously that counts as a 3-0 win, I think.
Right. Sorry, my signal just went at the start there. Nah, I don't think that would ever happen anyway, and it'd be a bit stupid, to be honest, if we ever did even consider it, cutting your nose to spite your face in it.
Aye.
It's a fair point, though. It's a fair point. When you think about it, because they're turning around saying that there'll be no fans in the stadium because they can't ensure the fan safety. So, what about the players? How are they ensuring the players' safety? The coaching staff? Because we've already saw that coaching staff can be assaulted as per the fucking ban pot that got the jail there for permanently scarring the Celtic physio last season. Now, I know there can be bottles and objects flung for both sides at all games, for other teams at games. Anybody that does that is a fucking total prick, as far as I'm concerned, regardless of what shirt they're wearing. But it's just a very, very strange one for me. As they've said, it's because they can't guarantee fan safety. Well, why not? What do you mean? So is the players safe? Are they fucking walking about in fucking knights, fucking armour or something like?
I don't know. Didn't they reject Neil Lennon and Chris Sutton from pundit duties for BT Sport because they couldn't guarantee their own safety as well? It's a weird club, man. It's a weird club. Totally hypocritical. They love to talk about standards, but they set one of the worst standards in this country.
I suppose you just need to look at the women's game for the kind of standard of their coaches and their representatives, shall we say. You know what I mean?
Unbelievable.
Running up behind that guy and leading him.
He apologised for that, though. Only taking him 5 days, but he did apologise.
Aye, and it was the most fucking sycophantic apology I've ever seen in my life. It's obviously the statement that was put out was like a fucking screenshot type thing, but there's like 3 paragraphs, and it's all about how he's let the club down, he's let the traditions down, he's let the fucking fans down, and this and that. And at the very end, it's like, oh, by the way, sorry to Fran Alonso. It's like it's a total token apology.
It's that out of character thing that gets me. No, even just on that, just in anything. It doesn't fucking mean anything. You still done it. It might be out of character. You do it once, you do it 100 times. Fucking, you still done it. It doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? I've not done it before, so it's all right.
Aye. I'm sure if we did it in our workplace, you know what I mean, we'd be facing a different scenario, a different charge, a different penalty. I'll be interested to see what the police conclude whenever they've finished up their report.
Mate, see if that was me that done that, I would just say I identify as innocent. Most respect.
Yeah. I know. Right, guys, so we're going to be back for the Jungle Gym's Tuesday TikTok. Perhaps McGinty might be back. We don't know. Mr. Angry, Mr. Grumpy,
Mr. Sock. By the way, no, this is not a wanking sock. It's just a sock.
You're not a teenager. Right, okay, so we'll be back for Tuesday, and of course, we'll be talking about preview for the Celtic and the Sevco game. We'll be looking forward to that. Guys, thanks very, very much for tuning in, giving up part of your Sunday to listen to us talk shite. So hit the like button if you haven't done already. Please subscribe too if you haven't done so. But thanks very much for your comments. Paddy, James, anything final for you guys before we wrap it up for this afternoon?
Nothing for me, mate. No.
Right, okay. Paddy, we'll leave you and that sock in your man cave.
It's all right. Doors locked, blinds are pulled down, ready for a beautiful Sunday.
Get the Barry White on the go. Anyway, right, guys, thanks very much. Postecoglou team, march on. Right, hail, hail, catches.
Hail, hail.